Lena. Maya's voice echoed from the alley entrance. She came running, clutching a blue-covered notebook, her sandals clicking against the stone pavement. Hurry, they're passing around the boys' pole, and it's your turn. My heart skipped a beat. That morning, I'd heard the boys in the back row whispering in Spanish about a sophomore class 1 looks ranking. I never thought they'd actually go through with it. Maya shoved the notebook into my hands, sympathy softening her deep brown eyes. You might want to prepare yourself. Scrawled in marker on the blue cover were the words Sophomore Class 1 Looks Rankings. Flipping to the first page, the School Beauty section was crammed with names, and Sophia's votes led by a landslide. The daughter of a local Santa Fe artist, her blonde hair shone like New Mexico sunlight, her name was highlighted in pink, dotted with tiny hearts and cactus doodles. My fingers cold, I turned to the second page, and the words, Class Ugly, hit like 2 lumps of coal, heavy enough to suffocate. A string of Lena's marched down the page, in messy scribbles and neat script alike. Someone had even stretched the vertical hook of the L into a mocking needle. I counted 17 check marks. Out of 21 boys in the class, nearly all had voted for me. The last name was in a handwriting I'd recognize anywhere, Ethan. His letters were always elegant, with sharp strokes and straight lines, just like him, always tall and proper. But now, those 3 letters felt like red-hot iron, burning my fingertips. Ethan and I had known each other for 6 years, ever since his archaeologist parents moved to Santa Fe's old town when we were in 7th grade, and Mom started helping their family with housework. I'd liked him secretly ever since. I remembered the first time he chased down my math notebook, swept away by a desert gust. I remembered how he'd quietly saved me the window seat at the Santa Fe Public Library, the one with a view of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. I remembered how he'd always greet me politely with, "Good morning, Lena," sometimes even bringing a homemade Mexican corn cake for breakfast from his family. I'd always thought that even if he didn't like me, he'd at least see me as a friend. Never in a million years did I expect him to write my name so openly on the Class Ugly ballot. Lena, are you okay? Maya touched my arm, her silver bracelet jingling. They're just messing around, don't take it to heart. Boys in Santa Fe are all like this, always pulling silly stunts. I shook my head, closing the notebook and forcing a smile. I'm fine. It's just the truth, anyway. Monolid eyes, thick lips, skin darkened from years manning the fruit stand, and a forehead dotted with recurring acne, I'd always known I wasn't pretty. But knowing it privately and seeing it scrawled in black and white for everyone to see were 2 very different things. It was like wearing a second-hand dress with holes, only to have someone yank the collar open and show all the tourists your frayed seams. Evening breeze carried a faint coolness, and the alley's string lights flickered on. In their warm glow, I saw Ethan walking toward me from across the street. He wore a white t-shirt and jeans, a backpack slung over his shoulders, his flaxen hair ruffled by the wind. I instinctively tried to duck behind a potted cactus, but it was too late. Where's your mom? He stopped at the stand, his gaze lingering on the blue notebook in my hand. His eyebrows furrowed slightly. He'd always been overly sensitive to anything messy or out of place. Mom went to buy New Mexico chiles. She asked me to cover the stand. I stuffed the notebook into my backpack, my voice barely louder than a mosquito's buzz. Do you want some fruit? We just got fresh prickly pears, they're really sweet. He bent down to pick one up, his fingertips brushing the spiny skin. He'd known how to avoid cactus thorns since he was a kid. Unlike me, I'd pricked my hands until they bled just last year. How much per pound? $3. He selected 3, placing them on the old spring scale. I stared at the scale, calculating the cost, too afraid to meet his eyes. When the scale beam lifted, I heard him say, "Lena, about the poll this morning." My heart tightened. I looked up sharply, only to see him avoid my gaze, setting the money on the stand. They were just fooling around. Don't take it seriously. Santa Fe summers always make people restless. I don't care. I quickly bagged the prickly pears and thrust the paper sack into his hands. You should go, night's falling, and the old town isn't safe after dark. He took the bag but lingered, as if he wanted to say more. But I'd already turned away, pretending to straighten the mangoes on display, too scared to look at him again. I didn't move until his footsteps faded into the distance, disappearing near the Maria statue at the alley's end. Then I squatted down, burying my face in my knees. The blue notebook in my school bag presses sharply against my back, sending a stabbing pain, much like those ballots covered with my name, etched densely into my heart, each mark a fresh wound. Chapter 2, A Confession Under the Streetlights. That confession was never meant to happen. Mom had asked me to deliver fruit to Ethan's house, saying Ethan's mom had made traditional New Mexico green chili pork stew and wanted me to stay for dinner. I stood at the bottom of the adobe house stairs, clutching a bag of mangoes and pears, hesitating too long to go up. Colorful Mexican tapestries hung by their door, clay cactus figurines lined the windowsill. Every corner exuded a refinement I could never fit into. I was afraid to see Ethan, afraid to remember my name on that ballot, and most of all, afraid I'd blurt out the question burning in my throat, why did you vote for me? I waited downstairs for half an hour before finally seeing him return. He got off the bus. Their car had been sold the previous month due to budget cuts for his dad's archaeology team, his backpack slung over one shoulder, his expression grim. I guessed he'd flunked his AP history exam, or his dad had hit another snag with the excavation project. Ever since Ethan's family had moved back to the old town after losing their research funding, he'd grown quieter and quieter. What are you doing here? He looked surprised when he saw me, his flaxen hair blowing into his eyes. Mom asked me to bring your family fruit. I held out the bag. Mrs. Carter said to tell you to come home early. He took the fruit but didn't go upstairs. Instead, he turned toward the alley entrance. Walk with me. I want to see the sunset. We wandered slowly along the old town's stone paths, neither of us speaking. The string lights stretched our shadows long, overlapping and separating with each step. When we reached the San Miguel church at the alley's end, he suddenly stopped and turned to face me, the church bells tolling just then, their deep resonance echoing through the twilight. Lena, do you like me? I froze. My heart felt squeezed in a fist, threatening to jump out of my chest. I opened my mouth to say no, but the word that came out was yes. 6 years of liking him, like a seed taking root in Santa Fe's desert soil, had grown into a towering tree long ago. I'd thought I'd hidden it well, but he'd seen right through me. He didn't look the least bit surprised. He just sighed softly, his gaze drifting to the church steeple. Lena, I'm sorry, I know. I cut him off, forcing my voice to sound calm. I just wanted to tell you. That's all. I was terrified he'd say, I don't like you, afraid to hear the words I'd long anticipated. But even cutting him off couldn't stop the inevitable. Lena, I've always seen you as a little sister. He met my eyes, his expression apologetic. And right now, I don't have the headspace for this. I need to focus on getting into the University of New Mexico's archaeology program to help my dad finish his research. I nodded, pretending to understand. But I knew the truth, it wasn't that he didn't have the headspace, it was that he didn't like me. Just like that ballot had proven, I'd never been the kind of girl he'd like. He wanted someone like Sophia, who could talk to him about archaeology, art, and the Santa Fe Cultural Festival, not a girl who didn't even know if she'd get into college, who spent her days picking rotten fruit off a stand. Take the fruit back, I said, turning to leave. But he called me back. Lena. He stepped forward, shoving the bag back into my hands. Keep it. We still have apples from the farm last week. As we argued over the bag, the paper split open. Mangoes and pears rolled across the ground. I knelt down to pick them up, and he did too, his fingertips brushing mine as we fumbled for the fruit. His hands were cold, like Santa Fe's early morning desert air. I pulled back as if burned. He froze for a moment, then continued gathering the fruit, moving slower now, carefully avoiding any chance of touching me again. "Ethan," I mumbled, stuffing a mango into a new bag, "I don't think your family's situation is bad. I'm not pitying you. I like you because you're you, the Ethan who chased down my notebook, who saved me the window seat. Not because your family used to have money." I was terrified he'd think my feelings were out of pity, that he'd see me as someone looking down on him. But he just stayed silent, packing the collected mangoes into a new bag and handing it to me. "Go home. Your mom will be worried. It's not safe for a girl to walk alone in Santa Fe at night." I took the bag, standing rooted to the spot as I watched him. The string lights cast a glow on his face, and I saw something glistening in his eyes, like stars over the desert, or maybe tears. "Ethan," I said, summoning all my courage, "so many girls slip you chocolate and postcards in your locker. What's one more?" He stared at me, silent for a long time. Then he shook his head softly. "It's different with you, Lena." With that, he turned and walked away, never looking back. I stood there, the heavy bag of fruit in my hands, watching his silhouette fade into the cactus thicket at the alley's end. The string light stretched his shadow until it merged with the darkness, gone forever. I knelt down, burying my face in my knees, and cried silently. The sweet scent of mangoes and pears filled the air, but my mouth tasted like bitter ash. Some loves, I realized, were doomed from the start. Like loving Santa Fe's sunrise, you can never hold its light. Like loving desert cactus flowers, you can only watch them bloom from afar, never close enough to touch. Chapter 3, Jesse's Chocolate. The day we switched seats, the classroom erupted into chaos. When the homeroom teacher held up the seating chart and called out, "Lena, Jesse," the whole class turned to look at me. Jesse was the notorious class bully. His dad was a hot air balloon pilot in Albuquerque who was rarely home, so he lived with his grandma in Santa Fe. He slept through classes and skipped them after school to skateboard in the desert, yet he always managed to rank in the top 10 of the grade on exams. His Spanish, in particular, was more fluent than even the local students. Tall with the wheat-colored skin common in New Mexico, there was always a rebellious glint in his eyes. No one in class dared to mess with him, not even the teachers, who usually turned a blind eye to his behavior. I carried my backpack to the back row, sitting down cautiously. Jesse was sprawled across his desk, his head buried in his arms, only a sliver of honey-brown neck visible. Afraid to disturb him, I set my backpack on the floor and pulled out my New Mexico history textbook, pretending to read. We had a test on the Santa Fe Trail next week, and I hadn't memorized half the material. After a while, he woke up. He lifted his head, rubbing his eyes, then turned to look at me. His eyes were large, with long lashes, and his gaze held a sleepy confusion, like a desert fox that had just drunk its fill of water. "You're Lena." His voice was hoarse, with a faint Spanish lilt. I nodded, too scared to meet his eyes. He smiled, revealing two small tiger teeth and a dimple in his left cheek. "Heard you're the class ugly?" My heart tightened, and my face burned bright red. I hadn't expected him to be so blunt, and for a moment, I didn't know how to answer. Kids in Santa Fe were always this way, speaking their minds without a hint of tact. They were just fooling around. I mumbled. "Don't believe them." He said nothing, just pulled a comic book from his backpack, Spider-Man in Spanish, and flipped through it on his desk. I stole a glance at him, realizing he was actually handsome, especially when he smiled, his eyes crinkling like Santa Fe's crescent moon at dusk. Over the next few days, we barely spoke. He either slept or read comics in class. After school, he'd head out to play football with the guys on the field, rarely staying at his desk. I buried myself in my studies, pouring all my energy into homework, trying not to think about my name on that ballot, or about Ethan. Though every time I passed the Santa Fe Public Library, I still couldn't help but think of that window seat. Valentine's Day brought an unusual buzz to the classroom. Girls received all kinds of gifts, roses ordered from an Albuquerque florist, homemade chocolate, postcards printed with Santa Fe landscapes. Boys huddled together, talking about a weekend desert camping trip. I sat at my desk, staring at my textbook, a faint sadness settling in. I'd never received a Valentine's gift in my life. Suddenly, Jessie burst into the classroom, clutching an elaborately wrapped box of chocolate, from Santa Fe's famous Chocolate City brand, its lid decorated with a desert sunset. He stopped in front of me, slamming the box on my desk. "For you." I stared at it in shock, too stunned to react. "It's for me. Who else?" He raised an eyebrow, tapping the box with his finger. "Grandma went to the Albuquerque balloon fiesta yesterday and brought it back. No one at home likes sweets, so you're lucky." I looked at the chocolate, my heart a jumble of emotions. It was my first Valentine's gift, from Jesse, of all people, the bad boy. I can't take it." I pushed the box back. "I'm cutting sugar. The doctor said it's bad for my skin." He froze, then suddenly snapped. He kicked a nearby chair, the legs scraping the floor with a shrill noise. "Fine. Don't eat it then." He grabbed the box, marched to the trash can at the back of the classroom, and dropped it in with a loud thud. Then he slung his backpack over his shoulder and walked out, his cowboy boots thudding heavily against the floor. The class fell silent, everyone staring at me. I sat there, my face burning, equal parts wronged and angry. I didn't understand why he'd exploded. All I'd said was I didn't want chocolate. And the doctor really had warned me, less sugar would help my acne. A moment later, Ethan walked over. He held a box of chocolate, also from Chocolate City, but the sugar-free kind, its lid printed with cacti. He set it on my desk. "It's sugar-free. You can eat it." I asked the clerk. She said it won't affect your skin. I looked up at him, seeing a hint of apology in his eyes. "About Jesse earlier, don't take it personally. That's just how he is. His grandma says he's never been good at saying what he means." "I don't care." I pushed the chocolate back. "Thanks, Ethan, but I really don't want any." He didn't insist, just left the box on my desk. "Keep it anyway. Santa Fe chocolate doesn't stay good for long." With that, he walked away. I stared at the 2 boxes of chocolate, my chest feeling tight and uncomfortable. Maya came over, sitting in the seat next to me, holding a cactus-shaped cookie. "Lena, you've got it going on. A top student and a bad boy, both giving you chocolate. Every girl in Santa Fe High must be jealous. They're just being polite." I picked up my New Mexico history textbook, pretending to read. "Don't overthink it." "I'm not overthinking." Maya leaned in, whispering. "I think Jesse likes you." When he threw the chocolate away, I saw his eyes were red, like a desert wolf cub with sunburn. My heart skipped a beat. I looked toward the classroom door, but Jesse was already gone. I shook my head, dismissing Maya's words as a joke. Why would Jesse like me? He was smart and handsome, with so many girls fawning over him. And me? I was just the class ugly, someone who didn't even know if she'd get into the University of New Mexico. But that afternoon, I spotted Jesse alone on the steps in the corner of the school playground, holding a football in his hand, a lonely glow in his eyes. The Santa Fe sun fell on him, stretching his shadow long. He looked unusually lonely, like a lost traveler in the desert. I hesitated, then walked over. He looked up, surprised, then quickly masked his sadness with his usual defiance. What do you want? Come to laugh at me? Nothing. I sat down next to him, pulling a bottle of water from my backpack, prickly pear juice, Mom had poured it that morning. Just thought this place was quiet. Good for memorizing history notes. We sat in silence for a while. Then he spoke, his voice softer than usual. Lena, do you like Ethan? My heart tightened. I turned to him sharply. How did you know? He smiled, a hint of bitterness in his eyes as he twisted the football between his fingers. Everyone knows. You follow him around, bring him your mom's Mexican corn cakes, draw his name in your notebook. I saw it, you know, you left it in class last time. My face burned. He'd known everything. I looked down, too ashamed to meet his eyes. I don't. You do. He cut me off, his voice suddenly serious. Lena, Ethan doesn't like you. Stop being stupid. He wants someone like Sophia, not you. I know. I mumbled. I just can't help it. It's like how everyone in Santa Fe knows the desert's dangerous, but people still go exploring. He said nothing, just picked up the football and bounced it against the ground a few times. The thuds echoed across the quiet field, like a heartbeat in the desert. Lena, he said suddenly, stopping the ball and turning to me, his eyes earnest, you're not ugly. I froze, looking up at him. The defiance was gone from his eyes, only sincerity remained. Really? You just haven't grown into yourself yet. When you do, you'll be prettier than Sophia. Your eyes, they're like the Santa Fe night sky. Bright. I looked into his eyes, a warmth spreading through my chest. It was the first time anyone had told me I wasn't ugly. Even if it was just consolation, I felt my eyes stinging with tears. In all my years in Santa Fe, no one had ever complimented me like that. Mom always said I was too dark, classmates called me pimple face. Only Jessie said my eyes were like the night sky. Thank you. I whispered, pulling a cactus cookie from my backpack and handing it to him. My mom made this. It's not sweet. He smiled, taking the cookie and revealing his tiger teeth. No need to thank me. I'm just telling the truth. We sat on those bleachers for a long time that afternoon, talking about everything. I learned he wasn't a bad boy by choice. He'd been bullied as a kid in Albuquerque and refused to be looked down on again. I learned he actually loved studying, especially New Mexico history, but hated seeming, hard-working, Santa Fe boys thought that was embarrassing. I learned he was lonely, with his parents separated and his grandma aging, so he often went to the desert alone, watching hot air balloons drift over from Albuquerque. As the sun set, Santa Fe's sky turned orange, like fire in the desert. He stood up, slinging the football under his arm. Come on. I'll walk you home. It's not safe for a girl to be out alone in Santa Fe at night. I nodded, following him. The setting sun stretched our shadows long, and this time, they didn't separate, they stayed close together, like two friends walking side by side along the stone paths of Santa Fe's old town. Chapter 4, A Kiss by the Desert. The 100-day countdown rally before the college entrance exam drew a huge crowd to the field. The Santa Fe High principal stood on the stage, telling stories of past students who'd gotten into top universities, with the Sangre de Cristo Mountains in the distance, snow still dusting their peaks. As a student representative, I stood on that stage, looking out at the sea of faces, my heart a mix of nerves and excitement. My goal was the University of New Mexico's journalism program. Everyone said I wouldn't get in, but I had to try. Halfway through the rally, I saw Jesse walking onto the field. He wore a white t-shirt and jeans, a backpack slung over his shoulder, and a pretty girl walked beside him. I recognized her, Anna from the next class, whose dad organized the Albuquerque balloon fiesta. She was fair and thin, with a smile like Santa Fe sunlight, beautiful. The crowd stirred, everyone turning to stare at them. I stood on the stage, my chest tight with an indescribable ache. I knew I shouldn't feel this way, but I couldn't help thinking of the day on the bleachers, when he'd said my eyes were like the night sky. After the rally, I saw Jesse by the school gate. He leaned against his old pickup truck, talking to Anna, a smile on his face, a smile I'd never seen before, like a desert flower blooming suddenly. I tried to slip away, but it was too late. Lena. He waved me over when he saw me, his voice light. I hesitated, then walked over. Anna looked at me, curiosity in her blue eyes, a hot air balloon patterned notebook in her hand. This is my desk mate, Lena. Jesse introduced us, then turned to me. Anna, she's a friend of my dad's daughter, visiting from Albuquerque. Hi. Anna smiled, her voice sweet like Santa Fe's honey tea. Hi. I smiled back, but my chest felt heavy, like carrying a boulder from the desert. Jesse looked at me, something complicated in his eyes. Which college are you applying to? University of New Mexico, journalism. I mumbled, twisting the hem of my shirt. He looked surprised, then smiled, his tiger teeth showing. Nice. Albuquerque's not far from Santa Fe. Good luck. What about you? I asked, my heart fluttering. I'd heard his dad wanted him to study aviation at a California university. Stanford. Aerospace engineering. He said it with a glint of longing in his eyes. I'm going to their summer camp next month to get used to it. My heart sank. He'd already decided to go to California. I looked at him, wanting to say something, good luck, or remember the Santa Fe desert when you're in California, but all that came out was, safe travels. He nodded, saying nothing. Anna looked between us, then smiled. I need to go to Santa Fe Plaza to buy postcards. I'll see you later. After Anna left, we stood alone by the school gate. Santa Fe's wind carried the scent of cacti, tickling my cheeks. I looked at Jesse, so many words stuck in my throat, but I didn't know how to say them. Lena, he said suddenly, his voice much softer, do you still like Ethan? I froze, then shook my head. No. It was true. Ever since that day on the bleachers with Jesse, I'd slowly let go of my feelings for Ethan. I'd realized my crush had been more admiration, for his good grades, his family status, his sure path to a good college. But Jesse had shown me something different, being understood, being cared for, feeling free to be myself. He looked surprised. Really? Really? I nodded, meeting his eyes for the first time without hesitation. Now I just want to study hard, get into UNM, and become a journalist, write stories about Santa Fe. He smiled, his tiger teeth showing. Sunlight lit up his face, like gold in the desert. Good. Then let's work hard together. I'll be at Stanford, if you ever want to work in California, I'll help you. That night, Jesse drove me to the desert outside Santa Fe in his old pickup. The desert was quiet at night, only the wind rustling through the sand and the distant howl of a coyote breaking the silence. He parked the truck by the road, and we walked slowly along the sand dunes, the sand soft under our feet like cotton. You know, he said suddenly, his voice clear in the desert night, when I first met you, I thought you were really shy. Was I? I laughed, picking up a smooth stone. I'm still shy. I'd never spend the night alone in the desert, for example. No, you're not timid. He turned to look at me, a hint of firmness in his eyes. The moonlight fell into his gaze, like stars in the desert. You're just not confident. But you're actually really outstanding, you get good grades, you're kind, and you're tough too. Not many people at Santa Fe High can keep their rank in the top 20 while helping your family run the stall every day. Jesse, I said, summoning my courage, my voice trembling, do you like me? He froze, then burst out laughing, his face turning red, like sunburned desert skin. How did you know? I guessed. I smiled too, turning the stone in my hand. It glowed faintly in the moonlight. You gave me chocolate, told me I wasn't ugly. That's not like you. Everyone in Santa Fe knows you never treat girls this way. He scratched his head, looking embarrassed. I've liked you for a long time, actually. Since the first time I saw you crying at Santa Fe Plaza. Your mom yelled at you for not watching the fruit stand, and you squatted behind a cactus to cry. I thought, this girl looks so hurt. I wanted to protect her. I stared at him, shocked. He'd liked me that long? That had been 3 years ago. I'd forgotten all about it, but he'd remembered. Lena, he said suddenly, taking my hand. His hands were warm, carrying the sun's heat from the desert. His eyes held a nervous glint. I know I'm going to California. I can't be with you right now. But I promise, when I come back, I'll find you. Will you wait for me? I looked into his eyes, my heart racing. I wanted to nod, to tell him I'd wait, to say I liked him too. But I thought of myself, my face, my name on that ballot, my insecurity. Did I deserve him? He was going to Stanford. I might only get into UNM. Jesse, I said softly, pulling my hand away, my voice barely audible, I don't deserve you. You're so smart, so handsome. You'll meet better girls in California. And me. You do deserve me. He cut me off, his hands gently holding my shoulders, his eyes firm. Lena, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. No matter what anyone says, no matter what you think, you're the best. Prettier than a Santa Fe sunset, brighter than an Albuquerque hot air balloon. His words felt like a warm current, flowing into my heart. As I looked into his eyes, all my self-doubt suddenly faded away. It turned out that there really are people who don't care about your appearance, don't care about your grades, and don't care if you can get into a top university. They only care about you as a person, whether you're kind, whether you work hard, and whether you deserve to be loved. Jesse, I said, my voice trembling, but sure, I'll wait for you. He smiled, a boyish grin that lit up the desert night. Then he leaned in slowly, pressing a soft kiss to my forehead, his lips warm, tasting like prickly pear juice. The desert wind carried a chill, but my heart felt warm. Moonlight wrapped around us, stretching our shadows long, keeping us close, like two lovers who would never be apart, standing in the Santa Fe desert, gazing up at the stars. Chapter 5, Tears in Milan. 7 years, neither long nor short. I got into the University of New Mexico's journalism program, fulfilling my dream of becoming a campus reporter, writing stories about Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Jesse went to Stanford. We video called every day, sharing our lives. He told me about Stanford's amazing aerospace labs. I told him about UNM's beautiful desert botanical garden. We were miles apart, but our hearts stayed close, like Santa Fe's adobe houses and cacti, always together. In college, I started to change. I learned to apply light makeup, dress for the desert climate, and work out at UNM's gym. My acne cleared up, my skin evened out with better sun protection, no longer dark and splotchy. People said I'd gotten pretty, but I knew the real change came from Jesse's love and encouragement. He'd shown me I was worthy of being loved, worthy of better things. In my junior year, I got an internship at Milan Fashion Week, reporting on New Mexico designers' work as a fashion journalist. I was nervous stepping into Milan's runways for the first time, but thinking of Jesse gave me courage. I knew he'd be watching me from his screen, cheering me on, just like he'd watched me memorize history notes on those Santa Fe bleachers. After graduation, I founded my own cultural media studio in Santa Fe, focusing on Southwest American art and fashion. My career took off. Jesse graduated from Stanford too, returning to join an Albuquerque hot air balloon company and starting his own aerospace tech studio. He'd finally fulfilled his childhood dream, building balloons with his dad. We didn't have to be apart anymore. We saw each other every day. We ate Mexican corn cakes at Santa Fe Plaza, watched sunrises in the desert, and built our future together. Just when I thought our happiness would last forever, I saw Jesse with Anna at a Milan runway show. I'd gone to cover Prada's new collection. New Mexico designers had incorporated desert elements into their designs. Walking into the runway venue, I spotted Jesse in the front row. He wore a black suit and tie, his hair neatly styled, mature and poised, nothing like the rebellious boy from Santa Fe High. But the woman beside him made my blood run cold. Anna wore a white dress, sitting next to Jesse, holding an elegant handbag printed with a hot air balloon, Jesse's company logo. Jesse turned to her, smiling, and Anna smiled back, a familiar intimacy in her eyes, like a couple who'd been together for years. I stood in the corner of the runway, watching them, my chest feeling like it had been hit with a hammer. I thought of that kiss in the Santa Fe desert 7 years ago, of him saying, "I'll wait for you at Stanford," of our daily video calls, of him taking me to the Albuquerque balloon fiesta after he returned. All those beautiful memories felt like knives now, cutting me to the bone. The runway music played on, but I couldn't hear it. I took notes mechanically, my mind filled with images of Jesse and Anna together. When I went backstage to interview the designers, I couldn't help glancing at them, and saw Jesse looking at me, something complicated in his eyes, like unpredictable desert weather. In that moment, tears spilled from my eyes. I turned away quickly, hurrying to the bathroom, too ashamed to look at him again. In the mirror, I saw my red, puffy eyes, like a crying desert fox, all my confidence gone. After the show, I attended the after-party. Crystal chandeliers glittered, people in elegant clothes mingled. But I felt like an outsider. I stood in the corner, holding a glass of wine, watching Jesse and Anna hold hands as they talked to designers, looking like the perfect couple. A delicate ring sparkled on Anna's finger. Suddenly, Jesse walked over to me. He took my wine glass and set it on a nearby table, his voice urgent. "Lena, can we talk?" I looked at him, angry and hurt, my voice trembling. "There's nothing to talk about. Lena, let me explain." He took my hand. It was still warm, but I pulled away as if burned. "Anna and I aren't what you think. You're misunderstanding." "What are you, then?" I raised my voice, drawing stares from nearby guests. "Holding hands, sitting together, laughing like that. Jesse, what am I to you? A joke? Was these 7 years of waiting just a game?" He stared at me, silent for a long time. Then he sighed, looking exhausted. "Lena, Anna, and I grew up together. She's here to help me with studio business. We're partnering with an Italian balloon company. She speaks Italian. That's all. Nothing more. I'm not misunderstanding." I shook my head, tears falling again. "I waited 7 years for you, Jesse. From Santa Fe High to now. I thought we'd be together forever. But now I see, I was just your backup plan. Someone you'd remember only when you needed me." I turned and walked away, too scared to look back. I was afraid I'd forgive him, afraid I'd believe his lies, just like I'd believed him when he said, "I like you," in Santa Fe. Back at my hotel, I locked myself in my room and cried. My phone rang repeatedly, Jesse's calls, but I didn't answer. I needed time to think, to figure out if we could ever go back. Could 7 years of love really be destroyed by one misunderstanding? The next morning, I received a text from Jesse. "Lena, I know you're angry and hurt. I won't make excuses, words won't change how you feel. But I need you to know, I love you. I've always loved you. Since the day I saw you at Santa Fe Plaza, I've never stopped. I'll wait for you, until you're ready to forgive me, until you're ready to listen. I stared at the text, my chest tight. I still loved Jesse. I still wanted to be with him, to go back to Santa Fe, watch sunrises in the desert, build our future together. But I was scared, scared he'd lie again, scared our love would be hurt once more. Just as I hesitated, a text from an unknown number popped up. Ms. Lena, this is Anna. I know you misunderstood Jesse and me. We're just friends, we grew up together in Albuquerque. Jesse loves you. I've known that since high school in Santa Fe. He asked me to come to Milan to help him prepare a surprise, something for your future. If you're willing, I'd like to meet you at the cafe next to Milan Cathedral. My heart jumped. I decided to meet Anna, to hear the truth, no matter what. We met at a small cafe with a view of Milan Cathedral. Anna wore a white dress, looking gentle, nothing like the woman I'd seen at the runway show. She handed me a latte. Ms. Lena, I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. Jesse and I are just friends. It's okay. I shook my head, gripping the coffee cup. I need to know what Jesse's really planning. Anna smiled, pulling a small box from her bag and handing it to me. Jesse wanted to propose to you. He planned to do it at the Milan show, because you once said Milan was your favorite city, that you wanted to cover an important show here. But when you misunderstood us, he panicked. He felt terrible. He stayed in his hotel room all night, trying to figure out how to explain. I stared at Anna, nearly dropping my coffee cup. Jesse had wanted to propose? I'd thought he was still building our future, not ready to take that step. Ms. Lena, Anna continued, her voice sincere, Jesse loves you more than anything. These 7 years, he thought of you every day. He worked hard to give you a better life. At Stanford, he studied safe balloon design, so he could take you around the world someday. When he came back, he started his own studio to build a stable home for us in Santa Fe. I looked at Anna, my anger and hurt fading. I'd misunderstood Jesse all along. He'd been working for our future, loving me all the while. Thank you, Anna. I stood up, my eyes teary. I think I know what to do now. I left the cafe and texted Jesse, Jesse, I'm waiting for you downstairs at my hotel. I want to hear your explanation. And I want to see your surprise. Soon, I saw Jesse running toward me. He wore a white t-shirt and jeans, his hair messy, looking anxious, just like the boy who'd chased after me to apologize in Santa Fe High. Lena, you forgive me? He skidded to a stop in front of me, out of breath, a small box in his hand. I nodded, smiling through tears. Jesse, you idiot. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He smiled too, then dropped to one knee, opening the box. Inside was a ring with a blue gem, like the Santa Fe desert night sky. Lena, 7 years. I've waited so long for this day. I know these years were hard, your name on that ballot, our long distance, this misunderstanding. But I promise, from now on, I'll be with you always. I'll protect you, love you. Will you marry me? I looked into his eyes and nodded fiercely. Yes. Jesse, I'll marry you. I'll go back to Santa Fe with you. I'll see the world with you. He slipped the ring onto my finger, then stood up and pulled me into a tight hug. Milan's sunlight wrapped around us, warm and bright, like our love, full of hope. Chapter 6, A Love 1 in 100. Wedding day dawned bright and sunny. We held the ceremony in the Santa Fe desert, with the Sangre de Cristo mountains in the background. Several colorful hot air balloons rose slowly in the distance, made by Jesse's company, printed with our names. I wore a white wedding dress, standing at the altar decorated with cacti and desert flowers, watching Jesse walk toward me. He wore a black suit, holding a bouquet of desert roses, his eyes a mix of nervousness and excitement, just like the day he'd first kissed me in the Santa Fe desert. When he reached me, he dropped to one knee, even though he'd already proposed. Lena, 7 years. From Santa Fe High's bleachers to Milan's runways to this desert wedding. I finally get to marry you. I know these years were hard, you cried over that ballot, worried during our long distance, hurt over that misunderstanding. But I promise, from now on, I'll be with you always. I'll protect you, love you. I'll never let you suffer again. Will you marry me? I looked into his eyes, tears streaming down my face. I nodded, my voice choked. Yes. Jesse, I'll marry you. I'll live with you in Santa Fe, run our studios together, and see hot air balloons around the world with you. He slipped the ring onto my finger, then stood up and pulled me into a tight hug. Cheers and applause erupted around us, friends tossed colorful desert confetti, the distant balloons honked. Our happy life, I knew, began in that moment. Married life was perfect. Jesse doted on me, giving me everything I wanted. He took me to eat Mexican corn cakes at Santa Fe Plaza, watched sunrises with me in the desert, helped me run my studio, and took care of me when I was sick. He even learned to make Mom's famous green chili pork stew. His version wasn't quite right, but it still made me happy. Once, while we were watching TV, we saw an interview with Ethan. He'd become a famous archaeologist in New Mexico, leading excavations of several Native American sites. The host asked if he'd ever regretted anything. Ethan stared at the camera, silent for a long time. Then he said, "In high school, I mistook a pearl for a pebble. Someone else took her before I realized. 7 years, every day I regret it. But seeing her happy now, that's enough for me." I looked at the TV, feeling a twinge of nostalgia. I knew Ethan was talking about me. But I was married to Jesse now, had found my own happiness, the kind of happiness where I was understood, cherished, and loved. The kind Ethan could never give me. Jesse took my hand, his eyes gentle as he brushed his finger over my ring. "Lena, don't overthink it. You're my wife now, my greatest love. The most precious treasure I ever found in the Santa Fe desert." I nodded and leaned my head on his shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of desert sunshine on him. "I know. Jesse, thank you for all your love and encouragement this whole time. Thank you for turning me from a self-conscious little girl into the confident person I am now. Thank you for making me realize that I too can be outstanding, that I too can be cherished like a treasure." He smiled and brushed a gentle kiss on my forehead, just like he did back then in the Santa Fe desert. "Silly girl, we're husband and wife, no need to say thank you. You've always been outstanding, you just never saw it yourself. In my heart, you're 1 in 100, a girl more beautiful than the Santa Fe sunsets, brighter than the Albuquerque hot air balloons, and more precious than anything else in the world." I looked into his eyes, feeling overwhelming happiness. True love, I realized, wasn't about looks or grades or college acceptances. It was about loving someone for who they were, for their kindness, their strength, their effort. Like the Santa Fe desert, which seemed barren but held hidden treasures. Like desert cactus flowers, which seemed plain but bloomed more beautifully than any other. That night, we sat on our patio, gazing up at the Santa Fe night sky. The stars were bright, like diamonds scattered across black velvet. Jesse held me close, whispering in my ear. "Lena, do you know when I first fell in love with you? You were squatting at Santa Fe Plaza, picking mangoes off the ground, so focused. Sunlight wrapped around you, warm and bright. In that moment, I knew, I loved you for being you, real, hardworking, kind." I smiled, turning in his arms to hug him, burying my face in his chest. "I love you too, Jesse. Since the day you told me I wasn't ugly, on those Santa Fe high bleachers. I loved you for being you, tough on the outside, soft on the inside. We held each other tightly, feeling each other's warmth. The stars shone above, distant hot air balloons drifted slowly, like our love, never fading. Everyone, I realized, has their own happiness. Even if you're mocked, looked down on, even if you're shy and insecure, someday, you'll meet someone who sees you, who loves you for who you are. They'll treasure you, see you as one in 100. They'll walk through life's storms with you, showing you that you're worthy of love, worthy of the best life has to offer. Like the Santa Fe desert, which always waits for its rain. Like the desert cactus flower, which always waits for its moment to bloom.